welcome. Welcome to the November 2022 LAPPG meeting. Thank you so much for being here. We're so excited. We have Laura Pursley and Shawn McDaniel here with us from Frame.io and Adobe. So it's great to have you all here.
I know our colleagues Michael Cioni and Sarah Katz visited LAPPG back in the spring to tell you about all the new updates we had following NAB. So, you know, every trade show, we've got some new updates for the gang. And today we're very excited, Shawn and I, to share the latest news from Adobe and Frame.io. So I think we all might have noticed a certain pattern has happened over the past several decades as solutions to create video content have improved with all of our computing improvements over the decades. We've seen a rise in more and more content created by more entities, which then gets us to a state now where it feels like content is really fueling our entire global content economy. When you think about the rise of social media over the past 10, 15 years and how that's all driven by content. I know I personally am addicted to TikTok, all that content there. And that then becomes a chicken and the egg situation where the solutions keep improving and then more content is made. And at the middle of this chicken and the egg scenario is Adobe, which is now celebrating 40 years of fonts and Photoshop and video editing and cloud collaboration. And we're here to provide all of that to you, our creators. Shawn, I wonder, do you remember 20 years ago when we started seeing a lot more flat screen TVs, LCD panels? Then we started seeing like a change in projection. Do you remember what that was like?
I do. I remember owning a tube television, and then I remember it moving to DLP televisions. That was one of my first televisions I ever bought. It was humongous. It was flat in the front, but had a huge back to it. And then, eventually moving to flat screen televisions, and then film to digital. I could see you got that next slide up. I'll let you keep going there.
Yeah. I remember my first time watching digital projection. That was a little trivia for you all. May 1999. I was living in Florida at the time. I just happened to be taking a weekend vacation in Los Angeles, my first time here to Los Angeles, and coincidentally was the same weekend that digital projection was starting. So I got to experience that for the first time. And then, as the industry has moved on, we have seen this transition from tape-based recording. First, this slide doesn't even go back as far as film-based recording, but tape-based. And now things for a long time now have been shot on some kind of card or drive. Shawn, what was that like for you as a creator?
Oh, I was mini DV days. I was Panasonic DVX 100, and I used those little mini DV tapes and had to import those manually into the computer and use log and capture. It's come a long way since then.
I bet a lot of people in the audience remember what that was like. Things are a little faster now. And then a while back ago, we saw that TVs got better and better. HDR came to the professional display environment and then into the home. When I was at Light Iron in 2015, I think it was, we were working on what may have been the first HDR digital intermediate delivery for the TV show Transparent, which aired on Amazon because Amazon really wanted to adopt HDR into the home. Now so much content of Netflix, Amazon, and all the other streamers. It's all 4K, it's all HDR. So the question now to the audience is, where do you think we're going to go next? What is workflow going to look like over the next 10 years? We can imagine that the industry within 10 years is going to become cloud first in all of its workflow. That is, cameras will no longer have removable media. They will shoot directly to the cloud. We won't have to deal with shuttle drives transferring files from the set to you, the editors in post. But how do we get there from now? Let's look back. So we're all familiar with relying on shuttle drives. And if you heard Michael's presentation earlier this year, or maybe we're watching last year, Frame.io introduced camera to cloud external proxy uploading. So what does that mean? That means most of the cameras that are commonly used in the industry today can use an ancillary device to grab the proxy and automatically transfer that to Frame.io in the cloud so that editors can get those files immediately after each take. And last month at Adobe Max, we introduced the first in-camera camera to cloud. And we're going to tell you a little bit more about that. But what that means is instead of having this extra device outside of your camera transmitting to the cloud, the camera itself does that transmission. Now, this is pretty awesome. It's automatic. You don't have to worry about an individual remembering to press the button every time. It's happening throughout the shoot day. Everybody that needs access, that you want to have access to the files, can have it. It's a kind of democratization of the access to your files. And as we progress through these 10 years, we see that becoming the standard, that more and more those commonly used cameras today will have their OCFs, their original camera files, delivered directly to the cloud. We think that will become the standard. So you heard it here first. You remember when you first saw those fancy TVs and you thought, oh, I'll never get that fancy flat screen. I'll stick to film. Of course, I'm good at SDR. What's this HDR business? All of that became a moot debate, right? We all switched over eventually. So what's to stop us from switching over here? And the reason that this is important to us at Frame.io is, this process, we've seen it before, we live it, that when you capture the content, you have to go through all these steps before it can get to editorial. What we're looking to do with camera to cloud is skip those intermediary steps, the download, the transfer, the shipping, more downloading, more transcoding. We want to deliver those files to you in editorial so that you can get started right away. And I'm seeing this comment from Megan. You're right, Megan. We're going to address exactly that about big files, and we've got a slide for that, so don't you worry. But let's say, barring all technology complications like that about bandwidth, isn't it better if you could have access? If instead of waiting half a day, a day and a half to get dailies, you're actually getting minutelies. You can actually become more involved in production. The collaboration with the director, with the cinematographer, imagining how you can contribute to the scenes. You can really say, this take is working. You can move on with confidence. I can guarantee that it's working in the edit. You could say, what, I really feel like you need to push in a little bit more. That's going to really get that pop that I know you're looking for. It has the potential to save so much stress, so much time. And who wouldn't want that? So Shawn, take us into the world of, once those files are received in Frame, why does that matter? Why is it Frame.io is the reason that we are pushing those files to this particular cloud platform?
Well, that's a great question. It's great to have this kind of technology and be able to upload your files incredibly fast. But if you don't have a robust system on the back end to manage all of this, to have a central place to hold all these assets, to have a place where your team can collaborate and leave comments and annotations and notes, well, that's where Frame.io is geared and suited for. So these images reflect a robust platform that supports this entire system that's being built right now. So on the far left, you're looking at, reviews and live dailies viewing on set, or, your client's comfortable at home using an Apple TV app to view all those assets anywhere they want. You've got a powerful web app that allows you to invite your team members, invite your collaborators to work on different projects, leave comments and annotations, and share those assets out to external users outside of your account. And of course, when you're on the go, which a lot of us are starting to do that again, we've got an Apple Design Award-winning iOS app on both the iPad and iPhone. So wherever you're at around the world, you're able to see and access those files instantaneous the minute they come in from your camera. And it's not even just looking at camera to cloud dailies. You're going to be looking at cuts. You'll be able to share and move files around that have been shared from your other team members. You've also got PDFs and documents that you could file share. So you don't just have the camera to cloud aspect. You've also got the whole entire Frame.io, let's say, universe that you can work and play in to make all of this work succinctly. Now, specifically the camera to cloud, Ryan Connolly is probably one of my favorite YouTubers. Influencer, a filmmaker, has a show on YouTube. I'm sure a lot of you know who he is. Film Riot is a incredible series to check out. I highly recommend anybody learning about filmmaking or trying to understand a little more about the industry, or just have fun with it. These guys have a crazy amount of fun. But C2C was a game changer for them, and it gave them the ability to gave them capabilities to collaborate and iterate, which removes creative barriers. So that on its own means a lot to filmmakers, because it's you want to have a frictionless flow on how you're able to access and work with your media, and C2C really streamlines that process. Now, Ryan's not the only one that's given some really in-depth and thoughtful quotes on this. Laura, I think there's some other slides here that we've got.
Yeah, we've got one of my favorite filmmakers, Glenn Ficarra. I've known Glenn for many years now as an innovator who really embraces technology to tell stories better. So if any of you remember when Final Cut Pro was really big, or Final Cut Pro 10 rather, was new, there was all that distress about it, but Glenn and his team loved it. They thought that it actually made their workflow faster and was more collaborative between the director and the editor. And more recently, Glenn worked on a show you may have heard of, This Is Us, just one of those little shows that was, some people watched it the last few years. And then the movie We Crashed last year, and he's got more shows coming out. But he has been using C2C on all of his productions over the last year or so, and he really loves it. It's you could see him back at that picture behind him is from Focus. That was a Final Cut Pro 10, one of the few movies that ever used it. He's always been on the cutting edge, and for him, technology is how you tell a story. And in a completely different vein, we've been working with the Golden State Warriors, the NBA champions. Well, this is Tom Fournette, the lead videographer for Golden State Warriors, and they implemented a new workflow this last season to empower their social media teams to get more and more content out. They have a great social media following. So Tom's literally courtside, he's shooting with a red camera, he's transmitting camera to cloud. After every take, it's going right to the social team. They went from being able to put out like maybe 10 tweets a game to like 30 tweets a game within 3 minutes. So they've got like Steph Curry doing some great 3-point shot, and it's instantly up. And that helps their brand tell their story the way they want. They actually can beat the media, the press, to telling their fans directly about the latest news. And that's all thanks to camera to cloud. So if you remember Michael's presentation from about 6 months ago, we talked to you about how we've been expanding. When we first started camera to cloud, there were a few ways to do it. Now it's not just camera files, it's sound files, it's scripts, it's location, photos, storyboards. You can use all kinds of different apps listed here to connect in to Frame.io to keep all of your project media together. And whether you're shooting a high-end cinema camera like a Red, a Sony, an Arri, Panavision camera, or you're shooting kind of like a mid-market camera, maybe more of like an FX9, FX6, or if you're using an iPhone or an Android phone as your capture device, we have a way to do that for you with our partners in camera to cloud. So there's a method for everyone: big budget, small budget, big production, fast production, long production. Camera to cloud works in all of them. Shawn, what's the next evolution of camera to cloud?
The next evolution is what, Laura was just talking about, external devices that you connect to your camera, but the next evolution is going to be internal. So one of the most exciting announcements we've had at Adobe Max was the integration with Fujifilm and Red. And this is a huge game changer because I know there's some comments in there about 8K raw files going up into the cloud. And yes, it's basically us making that mark and setting that timeline up for setting it to be the industry standard. And this is a way for us to really kick that off and get started and really encourage more camera manufacturers and more folks in the industry to take advantage of this technology. And we're really excited to partner first off with Red. So the V Raptor and V Raptor XL is now internal. You don't have to have an external device. You don't have to have a Teradek or an Atomos device to connect to that. Everything is done internally. It supports R3D files. You can even upload ProRes files, and you can get up to 2 gigabits per second upload speeds on these cameras. So they are ready and equipped for you to do that. And then if we move over to Fujifilm, of course, Fujifilm is a huge camera manufacturer, and with a lot of these DSLRs, it's a revolution that a lot of these cameras are out there, and the fact that Fujifilm took advantage of having internal video uploads is amazing. But here's another caveat: it also is allowing you to do stills, so you are able to upload your JPEG and RAW files directly up to Frame.io using camera to cloud. So all of your same capabilities as you used for video is now going to be available for stills. And this is another wave of how this technology is going to be able to impact future cameras and future workflows to make things more efficient and frictionless. And I want to kind of show you, first off, this is a little glimpse of what the menus will look like, and they're built in and native inside of the application. And the user interface is quite easy to set up and connect your devices to Frame.io. So that's a little look at the Fujifilm X-H2S. And then on the right is, of course, the V Raptor and V Raptor XL directly integrated inside of your camera menu. But instead of me just talking about how these work, let's go and do a little demo.
Hey, maybe here's an idea. What if we bring in our friend to help us do the demo?
That is an amazing idea. Okay. All right. Let me share my screen.
Okay.
Let me see if he's available.
Okay. Right, I'll give John a call here.
All right. Go ahead and give John a call. I'm going to share my screen and let's just see if we can get him to make this work.
Hey, John.
Hey.
Hey. Are you busy right now?
No, I'm good.
Okay. So Shawn and I were doing this little webinar, and we're over here in LA. I know it's getting kind of late there for you back on the East Coast. Could you fire up your Fuji camera and shoot some stills? We're doing a little camera to cloud demo.
Yeah, I'd love to. That sounds good. I'll grab it right now.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Shawn.
Yeah, no worries.
All right. So John's going to shoot some stuff for us, and we're going to watch it come in live.
Perfect. So just to kind of reiterate, he's already started. I can only imagine what kind of pictures he's got there. But as you can see, as a new file is added, it lets me know the new file is here. And it's organized by shoot day. So I can actually go in and see what shoot days I've assigned. Once I've made that connection, it creates these folders for me automatically. So if I go into the latest shoot day, I got a stills folder. And of course, any other devices I have connected, whether it's video or it's audio, it'll be labeled as such. So my files keep nice and organized. So if I go into that stills folder, I can now see John's device right in there. And if I have multiple cameras, I can name those individually and see those in order. And and as you upload those files, oh my goodness, look at this. Yeah, he's ready to go. Look at all these different angles he's got. So as I go in here, I can see these files are actively uploading and enable me to go ahead and view these. But let's go ahead and take a look. I like this one here with the bobbleheads. And with Frame.io, the really nice thing is that we've built a robust photo play what's called our image viewer, and it allows you to view photos, full raw files right inside a frame. And I can easily zoom in on an image. I can quickly scale them out to width and height. I can even use a loop tool here if I want to actually punch into certain areas. And the really great part about our commenting and annotations process is that your annotations will scale with your images. So let's say I go in really tight inside of here and I go, you know what, let's clean this up a little bit. Can we clean this up just a little? And I'm going to go ahead and add an annotation in there. Let's do that. And I'm just going to do a big box right there. I can even be a little passive aggressive and do a big arrow. What am I not clicking right? Do a big arrow there. Let's get rid of that. There we go. Once I hit send, I can go ahead and send that off and click on that. It'll bring up my annotation, but check this out. If I actually scroll out, my annotations scale to where I'm at. So you really pinpoint where you're at in that image and really leave those comments and be super detailed with it. But this is kind of a rough look, an overview of how a workflow can look. But with Camera to Cloud dailies, and if you're used to how that flow kind of works and you see how the folder structures are created, you can see how quickly and easy it is to work with all that media. And John, you're going crazy. You're shooting a bunch of photos, but see how quickly they kind of jump in there. He's probably just snapping away. And now they're available and ready for me to view right inside of Frame.io. Super easy. And he is actually located in New Jersey right now. So he's all the way on the East Coast while this is happening. So John, thank you for snapping those photos for us and giving us a nice diverse look at all these different items. I love it. And I'll go and stop sharing my screen so get back to yours, Laura.
So as Shawn just showed us, we've got the Fujifilm camera doing stills and video recording straight to Frame.io, and the Red V-Raptor and V-Raptor XL camera recording straight to Frame.io. This is the first time ever cameras are recording wirelessly straight to the cloud. That's an amazing milestone, but it is literally just that, the first. It's the first time it's happening. You actually can't quite get these cameras right this minute. The Red digital cinema company is expecting to release the beta firmware for their cameras by the end of this calendar year, and Fujifilm will become available in 2023. And you know how adoption curves are. There are those of us who love to live right on the bleeding edge. It takes a while for all this to catch on. So that vision that we had of getting to 2031, it's going to take a minute to get there. It might take a couple of years for the entire industry to take this on. But our vision is that this is a reality that we cannot deny. It will be coming to the entire industry. It will be more and more cameras. I already saw there was a question about companies like Sony and Canon cameras. Right now, you can use the existing external devices, our partner devices with Atomos and Teradek to connect Sony and Canon cameras to Frame.io directly. And we're hoping that all camera manufacturers bring in this integration, and we're actively talking with all of them. So we think this is the way of the future. It may not be for you today. And that was really your question, Megan, was what about these giant file sizes? It's true, it's not for everyone. We're thinking right now, those are probably major blockbuster content productions that have large budget, that are likely shooting in a very controlled environment, a soundstage, a virtual production space with LED volumes, that likely have hardwired, very high powerful internet there that the camera can directly tap into. So you're not sending 8K files over the Wi-Fi. You can. Our team has tested it. John and everyone in his group tests it all the time. And the shorter the clip, the faster and the easier it's going to go. The better the bandwidth, the faster and easier it's going to go. It is possible to do today on 4G, 5G on a hotspot. If you can make a cell phone with your, if you can make a call with your cell phone, you can use Camera to Cloud today. And we expect it to become more and more easy for everyone to do it as we connect record buttons on cameras directly to your editorial timeline. And all of us here at Frame.io and Adobe are here to help you on that path. So if you have any questions for us, definitely take a look at the URL shown here on that website. You will have the opportunity to be on the list to stay very informed as those beta firmwares come out and future cameras come out using this in-camera, camera-to-cloud technology. And with that, Shawn, let's get to some of the rest of these questions, huh?
First one is from Ashay. I'm hoping I'm saying that correctly. When you say external proxy, do you mean the ancillary device makes the proxy and uploads?
Yes. So the external proxy is actually created by the ancillary device and capturing that. So that could be the Atomos, the Ninja 5 or the Ninja 5 Plus using the new Connect module, or the brand new Shogun Connect module or Shogun Connect device, which those are Atomos devices are commonly used in productions today for all their other wonderful benefits of onboard monitoring and an additional recording stream. So essentially, they're taking the video and creating the proxy that goes to camera to cloud. With the in-camera, it's the camera doing it.
Next question is from David, and it's very straight and to the point. Please discuss security.
Very good question. So Frame.io is a very secure platform. We know this because we're using the SOC 2 Type 2 compliance standard and have been vetted by the Trusted Partner Network, or TPN, which is required by most of the major motion picture studios. The major companies require us to go through specific security audits, which we are happy to pass each and every time. And some of the features that they're looking for that we provide are watermark ID, which allows you to put not just a static watermark on the files, but something that's dynamic. It will show the user's IP address, the user's email, so that if somehow that file that is being streamed and watched back gets out of the system, the overlay of the watermark would track that. We have secure sharing settings. We have layers of those settings so that we have some customers who don't want to be bothered. They're not worried about security. And so they just want it to be easy as possible for all of their users. Others, you can imagine, have very high intense security. So we make that all customizable. And of course, with our multi-team management systems, you can set your user parameters so that not everybody has access to everything. You might have a top secret new product coming out, and only a few people are authorized to be working on that piece of video announcing it. So those are some of the ways that we address security in Frame.io.
Next question is from Vikram. To account for unreliable internet connection in the field, we will still need to carry some storage to download the footage during production.
Okay, interesting take there. So the way that we are working now is those ancillary devices, the Teradek and Atomos devices, if they don't have an internet connection at the moment, they do cache those files onto a card. And then the next time that they reconnect to the internet, they begin automatically sending them. So yeah, technically, yeah, there is still storage there. But let's think of, I can imagine a scenario where like you might be really out in the field, in the environment, you can't connect, but you go back home to a hotel room every night. And so you can get washed up and the device is automatically popping those files up to the cloud.
All right. And the next question is from Chris. I already have an AWS account. How do I go about setting up a test environment?
Actually, the fastest way to test camera to cloud right now is the Filmic Pro app. And that is a smartphone app for Android and iOS. And you can download it. It's just like a little add-on pack. I think it's like $30 or something total. You get it, you go ahead and connect that into a Frame.io account. We have free trials for Frame.io, and you can automatically see for yourself how easy it is to send files straight to the cloud.
All right. And the next question is from John. What about 3D or multicam?
Good question. Okay, so yes, so multicam, and maybe you could even maybe you have you could share your screen, Shawn, to show this. So earlier, Shawn showed the fixed folder structure, we call it, where all the media is stored in folders by date. And within each of those folders, you have your different types of devices. And within each type, you have different ones. So if you have A camera, B camera, as you would in a stereo rig, if you have C camera, and maybe you have a POV camera, all of those you label, and all those files can go directly in, and you can keep track of which is which.
Sorry, I'm trying to find one that might have multiple cameras in it. So I'm trying to see, but I don't think I do. But if you want to see in this current folder, we've got a couple other things in there. We got a video. I think this is from John was helping us out there. Yeah, he's got so that's from Filmic Pro, did I see? Yes, that's what it looks like.
Yeah. So that's just an example of how the folder structure works, and that's thanks to our innovation team and how they set that up on the back end. So it's automatically keeping track of that for you using best practices of how dailies are typically recorded.
Yeah, this is also showing. So this is actually a great demo right here, because we've got video, we've got stills. If we had audio, we'd have audio, but we also have camera reports or any other apps that we've connected that work with via camera to cloud. This one in particular is ZoeLog. So if you do use ZoeLog for your camera reports, you can actually use the integration within ZoeLog to get these files to upload directly to Frame. So in essence, you can keep all of your production documents and all of your production information right inside of Frame if needed.
All right. So this next question, we might need you to show this one if we've got time with a screen share. From Vikram, how do we ingest files from Frame.io into editing software for editing? Is this workflow compatible with non-Adobe NLE like Avid or Resolve? Yes, Vikram, I can say that Frame.io is compatible with Resolve. There is some integration with Avid. It's a little bit smoother with Resolve and with Final Cut, and it's the smoothest with Adobe Premiere. So there's a couple different ways. So you'll be able to pull in those files directly through the Frame.io panel. That's what I'm hoping Shawn can bring up his screen and show you that in Premiere.
This is the Frame.io panel, and it's built in directly into Premiere and After Effects. The easiest way to access it, if you're on the newest version, click Window, Review with Frame.io, or you can do Workspaces and choose Review, and that will pop up your Frame window. Once you're logged in, you'll be able to access the same projects and teams that you have access to on the web app. And it's pretty simple as this. If I want to actually just download a file, I can select on it, choose download. I can either choose to import or download that file individually. And if I want to upload, I can choose to grab any files from my computer, or I can reference them in the bin that's inside my project. But the other options here is I have upload my active sequence. So if I wanted to bring in this sequence, including my markers, and if I want those to appear as comments on my upload, I can do that. So if I click on active sequence, I could set up my parameters here. If I want to do my entire sequence or just an in and out point, but make sure that export markers as comments is available, I'll be able to bring those in and they'll show up directly inside of Frame.io. Another great feature too is being able to version stack. So if you want to actually organize your project a little better as you go through different revisions, auto version is another great tool to do so. But yeah, so if you are an Adobe user, Premiere and After Effects user, definitely give this a try. But on the other spectrum, if you are outside of the Adobe universe, that's okay. We still want to support you. We've got an integration with Final Cut Pro 10, Resolve, and then we're able to allow you to bring in comments directly into Avid right on your timeline. But we do have a robust uploader and downloader, and I don't have anything up to demo currently, but it's called Frame.io Transfer. Frame.io Transfer works on both Mac and PC, but it's basically an uploader and a downloader. And a couple key things I really enjoy about Frame.io Transfer is that you can download files and folders from Frame.io with folder structure. So if you're needing to preserve those video files and those video folders, the way they're kind of set up, depending on what you're shooting, I know Red's very particular about, you have to have your folders kind of organized for your raw files. You can use FrameIO Transfer to download those with folder structure. Another key element too is you can put in an EDL or XML file, so that if you are sharing this, let's say with a colorist or with another editor, they can actually just download the assets that were used in that edit instead of downloading the whole thing. But FrameIO Transfer is the best and easiest way to get your files in and out. But otherwise, the web app, that's your last call there. I'm going to see if I can pull up my thing here. But if I simply just click and drag assets right onto my Frame account, I've got a little folder here of stuff. So if I go here, I can just grab all these files. You can see I've got a mix of all kinds of different stuff. I've got a folder, I've got a project file, I got Mogert files. Just click and drag it right onto the platform, right through the browser. And again, you can use FrameIO Transfer, and then of course the integration with Adobe, with Premiere Pro and After Effects, and then Resolve as well.
Which heirloom tomato is my favorite? I love Dr. Carolyn's. They're very hard to find, but they are little small cherry tomatoes, but they're yellow cherry tomatoes, and they're more tangy than sweet. I love it. I'll give you a tip for all you tomato fans who live in the Valley. Tapia Brothers Farm has an annual event called Tomato Mania, and that's where I go to get my heirloom seedling plants every year.
FrameIO is just, it's mind-blowing. You guys are always, you're visionaries. You really always think about 10, 15 years ahead, and we get there. So you really are on the cutting edge. So we thank you so much for bringing it to LAPPG. You guys are such great partners, and we really appreciate it. With Thanksgiving on the horizon, we are very thankful for you, Adobe and FrameIO. And make sure you catch up on past meetings and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Not that long ago, we had Jeff Greenberg in the house. We have been wanting to get Jeff here for years, and it finally happened. So he came and he talked to us about storage, not numbers. What does that mean? Well, he basically laid out for us 3 different types of creators, and then shared with us what kind of storage would work best for each kind of creator. And he used OWC products. He explained what would be good ones and why they would be good. So it's really interesting for all different kinds of content creators. I highly recommend that you check that out on our YouTube channel. While you're there, you can subscribe and then click the bell, and then you will be notified whenever we drop a new video. And make sure that you connect with us. Join us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And a big thank you to our partners at the platinum level, AJA. At the gold level, we have Adobe, Blackmagic Design, OWC, Zeiss, and FrameIO. And at the silver level, we have Isotope, SGO, Reduct, Teradek, Small HD, and Media Silo. And our supporting media and community members. It takes a village, and we appreciate all of their help. So with that being said, have a great evening, everybody, or day, depending on where you're at. And thank you so much to Laura and Shawn and FrameIO and Adobe and all of you.